Frank, I want to go to you. Obviously, if we're going to have another revival in the United States of America, prayer is a critical component. Would you talk about that for just a second?
Yes. Well, first of all, they said a pastor who is not praying is playing. Number two, I want to encourage everybody to go to Amazon and get Leonard Ravenhill book, Why Revival Tarries. It's powerful. That's not a book you race through. I've wept through every chapter. At first, I thought I read it. Looking back, it was reading me, and I had a long ways to go. Ravenhill said, quote, "The early church was married to poverty, prison, and persecution. Lately, we've been married to prosperity, personality, and popularity, and wonder why we haven't seen much revival." I really believe if we're going to see another revival, it begins and ends with prayer. Ravenhill also said, "I'll tell you the secret of getting revival in church. Give me half a dozen people that just want to get alone and groan to God. And once you get alone with God, then and only then can you be a microphone for God."
Gary, let me go to you, my friend. Comment on that. Is it as simple as God's people getting serious about praying?
Well, I think it is. And, of course, the Bible emphasizes that over and over again. We use as a key text 2 Chronicles 7:14, where it says, "If my people, God's people, believers, which are called by my name, born-again believers, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land." Prayer is a very, very crucial part. But when we begin to pray, we've got to look at ourselves first, because I believe that revival starts in the heart of the individual, then goes to the family, then goes to the church, then goes to the community, then goes to the country. So it does start with prayer. You turn to the book of Hosea, and we realize that in the book of Hosea that Israel had really turned away from God. And in the last chapter, verse 2 of chapter 14, it says, "Take with you words," that involves prayer, "and turn to the Lord, and say unto him, Take away all iniquity, and receive us graciously." And you read down through there, in verse 4 it says, "I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely, for mine anger is turned away from him." And so prayer is the key. Real prayer, touching the heart of God, brings real repentance that brings genuine revival.
Sam, we've got just a couple of minutes left. I want to invite you to make any comments you'd like to make. And then I want to ask you, my brother, if you would take us to the throne of grace in prayer, praying about this COVID-19 situation to be sure, but really more important than that, taking us to God's throne of grace about another revival, the one we desperately need in the United States of America.
Dave, I will. Just a couple of brief comments. I believe that prayer is essential, but I believe, even as in Psalm 85, we recognize God's hand and hatred towards sin. The psalmist says, "Wilt thou be angry with us forever?" And then he says, "Wilt you not revive us again?" I think that revival comes when God's people get serious about the holiness of God and begins to live and change their life in obedience to God's will. And when that happens, that leads to powerful prayer. And that's how I think that the Bible lays it out.